What's up everyone, Darkside Phil here, and welcome to another edition of the Hateful Truth video game review series where you can get maximum truth and minimum bullshit in regards to the latest retail video game releases based off of my personal experiences with the games. And this is a very special episode because this is the 100th episode of the Hateful Truth. That's right. Since 2009, I've been striving to be a source of truth to the gamer, the common gamer. Being that I'm an independent, being that I don't work for any particular gaming media, that I line up in line to buy the games on release day just like all of you. And I honestly sit here and play through a game and try to experience it and get the most fun that I possibly can out of it before I come and give you a review. I'm not on any kind of a deadline. I'm not being biased by my publisher, being told that I need to inflate a score because we need to keep getting ad revenue from this company and keep getting advanced copies of review games. When you get the review from me, you know I'm being honest with you about how I feel about the game based off of my own personal experiences, okay? And today's game, I'm happy to say that I just love this time of year, the hardcore gaming season, because so many games come out, and this year, so far for me, it's been tops, okay? Because we've had hit after hit after hit. We've got another one today that I really can't wait to start talking about. Not perfect, but still a really good game, a great new IP. The game is called Dishonored. Now, a lot of confusion here. It says Bethesda. No, Bethesda did not make the game. They published the game. It was actually Arcane Studios who made the game. They actually had a hand in the development of BioShock 2. And that's interesting because you've got the studio who worked on BioShock 2, the publisher who's involved with Fallout, so guess what the gameplay is like, okay? But we'll get into that. Dishonored was a game that actually, for a lot of people, was a little bit of, it was an enigma, because really they weren't talking too much about the game. You would see a clip here or there, a little bit of gameplay online, you'd see an article about it in Game Informer, but unlike other games where you get the crazy media blitz, you really didn't see that for Dishonored. And in fact, at E3, they didn't even let the public into their booth to see anything of the game. It was only very select gaming media and people that they let in there. So you everyone was like, gee, I wonder if this game's going to be any good. And to be completely honest, I've seen a lot of fan feedback this week saying, well, since I didn't know too much about the game, I decided not to get it yet, and I'm going to wait and watch someone's playthrough or wait for the Hateful Truth review or see what other people say before I get it. Well, I'm pleased to say, Dishonored, a great game. Let's get started talking about what it's about. Then, of course, we'll talk about what I really liked, what I disliked, where I think there was room for improvement, and how I think it stacks up amongst the other games this year, okay? Dishonored is a game about a fantasy world. It's kind of that same steampunk influence that maybe BioShock has. In fact, a lot of people, when they started watching the playthrough, they were like, oh, it looks like BioShock Infinite came out early. What this is a fictional tale about a monarchy where an empress is ruling this land of, I think it's called Dunwil. Forgive me because I forgot the damn name of the place. Dunhill? Whatever. It's a moot point. There's an empress, and she has a daughter, and she is ruling this land. She has a bodyguard named Corvo. And the backstory to the game is that there was this natural resource called whale oil, where they found that if you kill whales, you can use oil from them as a power source. Now, obviously, in real life, this isn't correct, but in this mythical land of Dishonored, this is true. They actually found that whales are a natural resource of energy. And because of this, they were able to do all this crazy advanced kind of stuff, including, advanced weaponry, electronic crossbows, these things called walls of light and arc towers, which shoot electricity and either are like a force field that will shock you if you're not a person who has permission to go through it, or it might even shoot electric bolts at you and chase you if you're in a restricted area. So it's almost like, imagine if we had found a way to harness a power source before electricity that was more powerful than electricity. So they have advanced technology that kind of looks primitive, but actually is advanced. It's a really weird, interesting premise for the game. So anyway, I'm not going to give too much away of the plot, so you don't have to worry about major spoilers, but you are the bodyguard to the Empress. The Empress is trying to solve this plague. There's a rat plague that's infested the land, and she's trying to get to the bottom of what happened, where is this rat plague coming from, because even the best scientists can't figure out how to cure the plague, okay? So it's getting worse and worse. The rats are getting ravenous. They're eating people. People are becoming infected, and they're transform into what are called weepers. They're basically insane people that just start attacking you, and they vomit acid and all kinds of crazy shit. So she needs to end this plague. She sends her bodyguard off to figure out if any other country has heard about this. You come back empty-handed, you're like, no. But next thing you know, the Empress gets assassinated, and you get framed for the assassination. You eventually break out of jail with the help of some rebels who are actually a faction who figured out that the whole thing was basically a frame job on you. They knew that you're innocent. And then you set off in the world of Dishonored. Of course, that's a reference to you because they're trying to say that you killed the Empress. You set off to not only clear your name, but to rid the world of these people who came into power because of this conspiracy against you and the Empress, okay? So what will happen is you'll get a mission. They'll say, okay, go off and do this mission. And you'll go to a certain area of the Empire, and unlike Fallout, it is a set area. Yes, it is an open area of the city, and you can explore wherever you want, but you can't leave that area. If you leave that area, you just go back to like the main hub. You can't ever go freely between certain areas, okay? It's more like you're playing on this instance right now. When you finish your mission there, then you can play at another map, okay? And the gameplay really is a unique combination of Fallout and Bioshock. I say this because, like Bioshock, you have different abilities in each hand. You have mythical, magical abilities in your left hand, which let you do things like teleport, like actually see through walls and see people on the other side. So some of those are going to help you with stealth. On the flip side of that, there are abilities that are great melee, like killing abilities. Like there's one that does amazing, brutal, adrenaline-filled instant kill finishers on enemies. And your right hand has your melee weapon, which is your sword. And so the game has some gunplay as well. You can have a gun and shoot at people. It also has a crossbow that can either shoot bolts that kill people or shoot bolts that put them to sleep. Now, there's different ways to play the game. This is really the key to the gameplay of Dishonored and what I think makes it such a unique and interesting game. Similar to, say, Deus Ex Human Revolution last year, you can choose to play Dishonored however you want. You can do completely violence, okay? You don't care about anyone, you have no regard. Anyone that gets in your way, you slaughter them. So this is going to be heavily based upon melee combat. You're just going to be constantly hitting. Parry, if you parry, then you can get a counterattack on an enemy, and you're going to be using your guns to kill that from a range distance. You're going to be using your magical abilities to devour people. You can actually control hordes of rats and make them eat people alive, okay? So this is a more straightforward approach. It's probably a more an approach that's more geared towards people who are used to like combat FPS games, okay? The flip side of that is that you can play the game very stealthy, very non-violent, okay? You can have abilities that allow you to teleport further distance so you can pass people. You can have abilities that allow you to possess people or animals. So you can possess a rat, run through a hole in the wall, go down a corridor, and end up on the other side of the building where the guy who you're trying to get to is. And it's really neat because there are probably dozens of ways to do all of the missions in Dishonored, okay? And it's really that freedom that almost makes you feel creative. Like, gee, can I think of a really creative way to do this mission? And a lot of the times it works. So I'll give you an example without going into specifics. You have a target that you need to kill, okay? Or just get rid of. It's your choice if you want to kill them or just get them out of their place of power. Well, maybe while you're exploring the city, because there are side quests and things that you uncover through many different ways. Sometimes an NPC will just hint to you that there's something going on and asks you to investigate something, and if you do, it'll unlock a whole arcing side quest on the side of the main story. Sometimes you'll just overhear people in your travels through the city. You'll hear two people talking. Oh, I heard that such and such has a powerful item. So then, oh, you'll get a waypoint and you can go investigate that, okay? So, depending on what you want to do, you could either be totally straightforward. Rush through the front door, run at the guy you want to kill, and murder him. You pass the mission. But that might not be how you want to do things, okay? Maybe you want to do it stealthy, so you slip in. You don't really kill anyone, you kill the guy. Or maybe you find a way to do away with him that doesn't kill him directly. For example, maybe you find a way to discredit him. Maybe you find that he was behind some plot that hurt the populace, and you expose that by playing it over a loudspeaker or something like that. Well, that's a different way to beat the missions. Same result, completely different execution, okay? Or some of the cooler stuff is that if you unlock these side missions, sometimes they actually lead directly into your goal. So for example, there was one side mission where I did a favor for a gang leader, and because I did this favor for him, he decided that he was going to help me out, and all I needed to do was find the combination to a safe that he's been trying to crack for months, and then he would get rid of these two guys for me, and I wouldn't even have to lift a finger. So I did. I found out the combination to the safe, but then I double-crossed the gang leader by going to the safe first, opening the safe and looting it. Then I went and gave him the combination. He didn't know anything. He wasn't none the wiser, and he actually did the thing for me. And it was actually funny because later in the game, I ran into him again, and he referenced that. He was pissed as hell that I had double-crossed him, okay? So there's that kind of stuff that's a nuance that if you actually put the time into trying to do things different ways, you can unlock some really neat things, some cool dialogue options, some cool storyline elements. I've also found out that depending on how you play the game, one way or another, you may unlock more things. So if you're doing the melee combat, you're probably having a blast with crazy cool execution skills and you're just slaughtering through people, and the game's a lot of fun because it's action-based. If you do it more stealthily, you actually uncover more of the story. I actually found out there's a couple critical storyline plots that are unlocked by doing it the stealthy way, the non-violent way, okay? Now, as you're playing through the game, and depending on which way you play the game, okay, the world changes. If you play more non-violently, the world is more about the troops who are trying to remain control and keep this empire under lockdown. If you go the more chaos way, you're just killing everyone, more and more people are becoming infected by the plague. And so rather than it all about being troops, the world's actually being overrun by this plague, and there's rats everywhere. There's more people that are sick that you have to fight that way. So completely different paths depending on how you play the game. And in fact, the final stage completely changes dependent upon how you've played the game up to that point. So you can try to do it completely non-violently. You could try to be as insanely violent as possible. You could try to find a middle ground. It's all up to you how you play the game. And of course, with the plot, it is kind of interesting. There's some twists in there. I'm not going to expose any plot or anything like that to ruin the game for anyone, because there are cool plot twists coming on later on in the story. But basically, you investigate a lot of the things that were going around the original assassination. Then later on, you're trying to figure out what happened with something else. A really cool ending that I thought was like, whoa, I didn't really expect that was going to happen. But a really neat ending and a really cool game in itself. Now let's expel some rumors here. When the game first released, early reviewers, I hate these fucking people, I swear to God, so some of them started saying the game is short. The game's only 4 hours long. Well, let me be honest with you. If you did a complete speed run of Dishonored, if you completely disregarded all side content, didn't care about finding the runes that are hidden and they power you up and give you more of your magical abilities, if you didn't care about the charms that actually accentuate your abilities, if you didn't try to unlock any side quests and all you ever did was run to the front door, kick the fucker down, run straight through, kill the target, and then get the fuck out of there, yeah, you could probably beat the game in 4 hours. But what motherfucking asshole plays a game like that? You could have done that with Fallout. You could have done that with any game. And you could have speedrun the game and it would have been 4 hours. So people saying that kind of shit, it really pisses me off, because there is an abundance of content in this game if you actually look for it. The problem is people, they get these one person says something stupid and the whole internet, oh, that's it, 4 hour game, I heard it, I'm not getting it now, what a joke, epic fail, epic lulls. No, the game is long. My playthrough was between 8 and 10 hours long, and that was just my first playthrough. Now keep in mind what I've said here. The game can be played completely differently. You can go for a non-violent run, you can go for a violent run. In addition to that, there are different achievements and trophies in the game that unlock depending on how you play it. So if you just murder your target, pop, you may get an achievement or a trophy. If you find a way to non-violently do away with them, pop, you get a different achievement or a trophy. So there's actually incentive once you beat the game the first time to go back and replay it, because it's a completely different experience, and I'm not exaggerating. I went for this non-violent run and I almost never used any of my combat abilities whatsoever. I was always putting people to sleep. I was using sleep arrows so I wouldn't kill them. I was sneaking around. I've started, talking to my fans who've been playing it, and they said, Phil, the game is completely different if you go for a combat-style playthrough. You're just going nuts with these supernatural powers. You're ripping people's bodies apart with these cool, epic assassinations. And you can have control swarms of rats come and start devouring people, and it's more like you're an angel of death than anything else. So I'm the kind of person that if I had the time, I would go back and play Dishonored again and do it the complete opposite way than the way that I did it. Because I know I would unlock a whole bunch of additional achievements and or trophies. I'd get a completely different experience out of it. So, sure, your first run through may be around 8 to 10 hours long. If you take your time, it may actually be around 12 to 14 hours. But then you do a second run through. The game almost is mandatory that you do a second run through of 8 to 10 hours. So you're getting a lot of quantity out of this game. The graphical style is very similar, I'd say, to BioShock. Again, that's why a lot of people said, gee, did BioShock Infinite come early? It's almost cel-shaded, but not really. It's got a unique, almost, it's hard to explain. It's larger than life. It's not hyper-realistic, but it's almost a little bit cartoony at the same time. Again, similar to like BioShock was. And so let's talk about what I like about the game, what I don't like about the game. Because there are things I don't like about it, and I think that they could have done a lot better, alright? The things that I like about the game, okay? First of all, just the ability to play however you want. This is a game, again, similar to Deus Ex Human Revolution. You have freedom. You can do it this way, or that way, or a combination of the two. A lot of people, I'm sure, probably were doing more of platforming run. I was doing a lot of teleportation and stuff like that. I enjoyed the stealth aspect of the game. And I actually apparently I uncovered a lot more of the plot than you do if you do just the combat, but I'm sure the combat might have been a lot easier. I might have been able to tear through the game a little bit faster. So I like that aspect. You play how you want. It's your own experience. You make your own experience, okay? The combat's pretty fun when you have to fight. Being able to not only just attack, but also parry, counterattack, and do kind of action-based things is really neat. I do like the fact that there is an abundance of powers. It's not just like you have 3 powers to focus on. No, by the time I beat the game, I had a full teleportation, full agility, which made me do like crazy super jumps and super fast running, high health, or increased health, and also increased health regeneration, so it was easier to survive. I had the ability to possess people, okay? And not only rats, but people. I could actually possess a person and walk around the house and no one would know who I was. They would think I was just the troop I had possessed. And the ability to slow and or freeze time. And that, many times during the playthrough, allowed me to completely walk behind someone, steal something off of them, or knock them out without them knowing. Or run through a heavily guarded area where when people, would have seen me, and just run right the fuck through, and they're none the wiser that I was even there. So I really like the fact that there was a large variety of abilities. The thing is, I didn't even unlock half of them. The other half were all melee combat based, so there's a lot of variety in the gameplay. I like that. The story. The story is one of the critical aspects of Dishonored. It is a very interesting story. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. You're not sure what's going to happen at a moment's notice. Sometimes things happen, you're like, wow, I didn't expect that was going to happen. There's a couple plot twists during the course of the game. It's cool because you end up getting revenge on certain parties during the course of the game, and it's just really neat in that respect that it feels like, wow, this was a really epic, cool story. And for my playthrough, where I did the non-violent ending, I got a great ending. Now, I don't know if you do the violence ending, if it's probably far different, but it's cool also. Here you go. Play your own way, get your own endings, okay? So, a lot of stuff I really liked about the game in that regard. It really, to me, what this feels like is a streamlined Fallout, okay? Now, I mean Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas. It's a streamlined version of those games. They tried to make the combat a lot more easy than those games. They tried to have the ability to have cool magical powers. And really that's what I felt like I was playing. A streamlined, a little bit maybe more mainstream version of Fallout. That being said, let's talk about the negatives, which I actually feel are a result of the game being a more mainstream version of Fallout, okay? Number 1, the combat is too easy. And what I mean here is, you have a crossbow and or handgun, and you have a sword. And that's primarily what you're going to use for combat, unless you're using some, magic where you have control rats or whatever. But it was far too easy for me on the fly to just get perfect shots with the crossbow. Guys would be coming at me and pop, pop, pop. Oh, I hit 3 in a row. Like, well, I didn't even really aim. And the thing is, you can't aim down the sights in this game like other first-person shooter games. So I think that they said, since you can't do that, let's make it just easier to hit people with the projectile weapons. But it just seemed too easy to me. In fact, there was an ability to increase the accuracy of your crossbow, and I was like, why would I even need that? I'm not missing now, okay? In addition, the melee combat's very simple. You hold a sword. You wait for them to attack, you parry, you counterattack. Every once in a while, if you both attack at once, you'll clash your swords, and then you'll mash the button, and you knock him away, and then you slash his head off. So, very simple. You're just basically, you could win most melee combat by just going like this, like crazy, like an asshole. There's really no nuances to the melee combat of the game either, okay? Other ways that they oversimplified the game that I think hurt the game. In Fallout, you're constantly walking around looting houses, looting things because the items all mean something. Same thing in Bioshock. You're constantly finding items, ammo, and things that eventually will lead up to important stuff. In this game, the important items that you need are actually on your mini-map. You actually have a heart that you hold. It's like a mechanized heart, and all of a sudden it puts icons on your map of where all the items are that are critical to the game, like the runes that give you more magical ability, or the charms that actually give you accentuated powers. So really, there's not a lot of really searching necessary in order to find a lot of the critical items of the game. In fact, what actually annoyed me a little bit about the game is that you'd see one and it would say, oh, it's 5 feet this way, but there's a wall, you can't get to it. And you're like, what the fuck? How do I get this? 20 minutes later, because you start playing through the story of wherever map you are, you're not exploring anymore, you're doing what you're supposed to do, you just walk right into it. And you're like, oh, so I've just spent 10 minutes searching a way to get it. All I needed to do was do the actual mission that I'm here to do, and I would have stumbled upon an item anyway, okay? So unlike Fallout, where maybe in Fallout you're finding junk and you're picking up items, but it's because later on you're going to build something with it. You're going to build a giant bomb or some kind of cool mechanized melee combat thing. In this game, you find items all over the place, and it's either going to be one of the runes that's on your minimap, one of the charms that's on your minimap, a healing item, okay, food, which is basically also a healing item, or a generic thing that just gives you money, which is very odd. You'll find, oh, a box of medicine. Oh, that's worth 50 gold. You immediately get 50 gold pieces, okay? Oh, I found a rare statue. Oh, you get 200 gold pieces. But it's like there's no meaning to the items, okay? In Fallout, you pick up items, you can either use them to do things, or you can sell them. In this game, you immediately sell any item that has a value, and it really doesn't, it makes it feel like it's frivolous walking around picking up all these items. And there really is no inventory management, so to speak. In fact, what I found is that most of the time in the game, I had way too many health potions and mana potions. I had too many. Like, I always had full. So I would use one, and then I would pick up another that was right in front of me, and, like, you never run out. I never was really challenged during the course of the campaign to, you know, have to use a lot of those. Now, maybe, this is just my theory, probably it's because I did the stealthy playthrough. I wasn't doing a lot of combat. Maybe if I was always going head up with the enemies and using my abilities, I would have taken a lot more damage. I would have needed more healing and more mana to use those combat abilities. I was doing stealth. So maybe that's the reason, but for me, the game just seemed a little bit too easy. It wasn't super easy where, like, play school level, mash buttons and win the game. You did have to think, again, like I said, a lot of the times I beat these missions in creative ways, and therefore I avoided violence, and it made it a lot easier for me, but I still had to find that creative path. It was a lot of exploration, a lot of additional walking around, talking with people, and doing things. So, the game is on the easier side, but will take you longer if you do a stealthy playthrough. From what I'm to understand, it's a little bit more difficult if you're doing the straight-up combat chaos route, okay? So they streamlined a lot of the things. I understand why. Maybe they want this to appeal to a wider audience who maybe thought that Fallout was too complicated, that maybe Fallout had too much to it, you know what I mean? And similarly to that, Fallout has a long-ass campaign. Probably, you know, most people say, oh, it's about 15 to 20 hours long. This game, the campaign's only 8 to 10 hours long, but I think they intentionally did it because they want you to play the game as the other side. If you did stealth, they want you to play with chaos and vice versa. That really is getting the full experience out of the game. Just playing it one way isn't really experiencing the whole game because you're not getting the full story, you're not getting to experience all the cool abilities of the game. So the game is basically a mandatory redo to experience it in a different way, okay? So for what it is, Dishonored is a great game, taking elements from some of our favorite games of the past several years, combining them into a unique experience that lets you play however you want, okay? and the fact that there does have massive replayability, it absolutely screams for a second playthrough, which I would do if I had time, but I just don't have time with all of the releases that are out right now and that are coming out in the next several weeks during the hardcore gaming season. So it's unfortunate that I don't get to experience a second playthrough. But if you buy this game, you will definitely get 2 playthroughs out of it, and you'll definitely get 2 experiences that you're going to enjoy, plus a whole new slew of achievements and trophies that you'll unlock by doing things in a different manner. The only other real negative that I have to say about the game is I did play the Xbox 360 version, and some of the textures and pop-in were pretty bad, meaning an area would load and I'd look at the wall and it would look like horrible, and then all of a sudden it would load the texture and it would look fine. So there was a little bit of problems with pop-in. The other thing is with the platforming regarding the blink ability, which is actually the teleportation ability. Sometimes it's a little bit unwieldy. You're just trying to get to this ledge and you swear you can get up there and you jump up there and then you fall and die and you're like, fuck. And you're like, oh shit, I didn't save my game. Because that is one other critical thing I want to warn everyone. Just like Fallout, this game begs that you save all the time. Because you may fuck up. And if you fuck up, you may have to replay 10 to 15 minutes of gameplay because you didn't save, and the checkpoint really only saves at critical times, like if you're entering a brand new building during the story or something like that. It's not saving constantly for you. So you must save a hell of a lot by yourself if you're playing Dishonored. I warn you, okay? So, overall, Dishonored, extremely enjoyable game. I loved the story. I loved the graphical style. I loved the gameplay. I felt so fulfilled when I found a cool way to finish a mission, rather than just, oh, I'm a fighter, I will shoot and run and gun. Instead, it was me doing tricky things and making behind-the-scenes deals and maybe finding a way to expose someone for the real evil person that they were. I love that kind of shit. It was great. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. And again, the fact that you can get a full second playthrough that's different from your first one is a massive, massive replayability asset for the game. So, Dishonored, in comparison to everything I've played this year, I gotta tell you, this hardcore gaming season has been fucking great. Dishonored is a great game with some flaws, is a little bit too much on the easy side in my opinion. It could have been a little bit more difficult. Maybe the inventory could have had a little bit more use rather than just giving you coins when you're picking up most of the items. But a couple of flaws with graphics and with the platforming, with the teleportation. But outside of those very few problems, the game's outstanding. I had a lot of fun. Again, I wish I could do a second playthrough. Maybe I will at some point. But right now, I know I can't do it immediately. But the game is great. I recommend it highly. I give Dishonored a 9 out of 10. That's right. And I know for the past couple of months, I've been playing some better games. I've been giving a lot of games that score. This game deserves it, okay? Even though people might say, oh, it's on the shorter side, they did it on purpose so you'll replay the game the other way and enjoy the full gameplay experience of Dishonored. It's worth it. Definitely AAA title in my opinion. Great job by Arcane Studios. A great new IP. I don't know if it'll continue, but I definitely recommend it. If you're looking for a game right now and you're on the fence about Dishonored, don't be on the fence. It's definitely worth your time. It's a great gaming experience and you should check it out. Okay? Alright, so that's it for the Hateful Truth review. Episode 100, Dishonored. Thank God it was for a good game, because imagine if it were for a real shit game and I was all pissed off. This was a great game. I love it. Everyone should check it out. And thank you for 100 episodes, 100 successful episodes of the Hateful Truth. There's nothing more that I feel better about than knowing that people are making informed, intelligent decisions based off of an honest gamer's experience. You know when you watch my reviews, I'm not bullshitting you, okay? And I want people to experience the best games of the year, and that's why when shit like, oh, it's 4 hours long, that shit pisses me the fuck off. It's complete nonsense. Don't believe the bullshit, okay? I look forward to another 100 episodes of The Hateful Truth. I hope you'll hang in there with me for it. There's a possibility I may be doing a special retrospective of all the previous episodes if I have time in the next couple of days. I don't know. We'll have to see. It is pretty jam-packed right now. But thank you so much for tuning into The Hateful Truth. As always, I hope you got maximum truth and minimum bullshit in regards to Dishonored, and now you can make an educated decision on whether or not you want to check it out and or buy it. I definitely recommend to buy. Thanks a lot, and I will see you next time for another truthful review. Peace.